Hey y'all, welcome back to Effortless Ecology channel. I'm Sierra, and we are finishing up our conversation about the 4 tenets at the organism level of effortless ecology. And so, effortless ecology is the concept of being in connection and responsibility and stewardship of ourselves and our communities and our environment and the entire world around us. And so, with that, everything starts with us. And so we've been going over these past few videos, thinking about these 4 tenets of the organism level of effortless ecology. Those tenets have been integrity, responsibility, honesty, and finally, we're going to be talking about authenticity, right? All of these have kind of built on each other, right? And so integrity, doing the right thing, being your word, being your promise, means that you have to be in responsibility and taking accountability for the consequences of your actions. And both of those are underlain by the concept of honesty, being honest with ourselves as well as others about the things that are happening, what's being created in our lives, in the world around us, what's working, what's not working. These are all just kind of good ways to live our life by, like good concepts to live our life by. And so finally, we have authenticity, right? And authenticity, the best way that I can think to describe authenticity would be the truest form of whatever that thing is, right? So being authentic to ourselves, having self-authenticity is being true to ourselves. And all of that kind of like ties together, right? Being authentic with ourselves means that we do what we say we're going to do. We do the right thing based off of what we authentically believe. That means that we're taking responsibility for our actions so that we can live an authentic life. And that's based off of being honest about who we truly are, what we truly believe in, what we really want, right? Authenticity is an interesting subject, especially like now in our modern world, right? Everyone experiences different traumas, especially like growing up, right? Different experiences that we have as children teach us ways that we should approach the world to protect ourselves, right? To protect our ego and make sure that we are accepted, right? So that we aren't ostracized, which is a very base level of self-protection. Being authentic with ourselves is also the recognition that we are worthy. We're worthy of love and acceptance exactly how we are. And when we're kids, right, like you're just kind of bopping around doing, whatever feels right to you until something happens where it gets into your brain that isn't safe. It's not safe. It's not right to be our authentic selves. And so, that kind of takes us taking a step back and looking at the things that we hold as true, but might not actually be true. And so, what does it mean that we live in a world where pretty much everyone is a little bit traumatized and a lot of people don't feel comfortable looking in the mirror, getting under the surface and thinking about where those things come from? It's really heartbreaking. It's part of how we've gotten here, right? We're now in this, era
so
of like
much
fast
freedom
fashion and
in
celebrity
honesty.
worship.
There's so much freedom
and
in honesty.
disconnection
when we
from
can
not only our
look at
true selves and
ourselves in the
desires, but
mirror
also
and
from
say,
each other.
this is what's
Right?
not
This
working.
like technical world,
This is what's
technological
not working
world,
for me. It's not working in my
the
relationships.
metaverse, like the
And
virtual
it's just as important
sphere
to identify
that we're
like
all
what is
involved
working.
in,
Like,
and the kind of like
like
games
maybe
that are being
like your
played
job
there
isn't working.
could be a part of
Like
it
maybe
as well.
you don't like your job.
Versus
maybe
it's real.
you know that
It's
you're
real
better
in
skilled
ourselves.
in other areas.
It's real.
And so then taking
In our
responsibility
connection
and
to
being like,
ourselves,
okay,
who
I'm going
we
to choose
actually
something
want to
different.
be,
I'm going
what
to
we
choose to get a new
actually
job and then
want.
following through
A
in
lot
that
of this
integrity
could
of like,
go
yes,
into
I'm
as
going to
well,
find something
right?
different, something
The
that I want or
expectations
something
that are
that
placed upon us by
fits to my
society.
skills, right? But it all starts, all of it starts
This year of our
with
Lord,
being
2026,
honest.
there have been a lot
that
of
comes
discussions
into
about
like our relationship with
the manosphere.
ourselves building our
and
self-trust,
what kinds
when
of
we're lying to
conditioning
ourselves about
is being
things that are
created
happening, about
for
what we do
young
and don't
men.
want, about
Young
our
women
relationships.
have also
All of
experienced
those
this pretty much
things
through
are
time
going
immemorial.
to
Like, what is
disintegrate
the
our trust with ourselves.
like what women's
Because
purpose
if we're
is,
lying to
what
ourselves,
men's purpose
we can't
and
believe,
reason
like, literally
is.
our brain is like, what is
And
happening?
when
I
we
know
allow ourselves
that's
to
not
buy
true.
into those,
You know when that's not
strict,
true.
rigid,
We all know.
boxes,
It's a weird feeling. And the
what are we
more you
losing
ignore
for
that
ourselves? What are we
feeling,
losing of
the more
ourselves?
it's going to
What
eat you
desires are we
alive.
losing? And that doesn't mean that if you,
It's
like,
true.
are passionate about having a nuclear family
And
and
so
like getting married and having
not
kids, that doesn't
only,
mean that that's
right,
wrong.
being honest with
But the question
ourselves
is, like,
about our life and what's working
what
and
parts
what's not,
of you
but
have you
also
in the past been
about
willing to leave behind
in society,
because
right?
it
In
hasn't
our relationships,
fit in with that status quo?
where are lies being told?
It's
And
possible
where's
to
their
be
honesty?
an artist, world
Where are we having
traveler,
honest
and
conversations
still have
about
a
the
family.
things that are impacting us
It might not be easy
as a world,
It might be
as
really
a planet
hard.
today?
And if that's what you
And
want,
where
is it worth
are we
it?
lying?
If it feeds your soul, your authentic soul, the things
Maybe
that
that's
you
not
have
something
craved and
that
you
we
desire,
can directly address, right?
and
Like,
that you're
corporations
honest
are
with
fucking
yourself
lying.
about,
The government is lying about some things. Like, maybe
Is it
not
worth it
everything
to be
all the
that?
time. Like, there's not lies. Like, not everything
That's what
everywhere all the
authenticity
time
as
is a
well
lie.
as, the
But
versions of ourselves that we
where
sometimes
is, like,
hide
the
because we're
underlying,
scared
like, right?
that
How
people
did
might
we
not
get
like
here?
it, right? So
How
our
did we get
silliness,
here?
our
And one of the
goofiness,
ways
our sense of
for us to
humor,
move forward is by
as well
starting
as
with
sometimes our
ourselves,
seriousness.
getting honest with
Sometimes
ourselves,
we hide
spreading
our
that
serious
outward
side
into our
because
relationships, our one-on-one
like maybe it'll scare
relationships,
people off
our community
if we
relationships,
get too serious.
and then further into
And
the
if
world.
I'm being
But
honest,
it does.
like,
It starts with us.
my
It starts with you.
authenticity is
It
part
starts
of
with me.
why I've started this
And so
project.
bringing in
right?
that
I want to be
honesty
honest with y'all.
into
I
our individual
started
organism
Effortless
life,
Ecology
right?
because
And
I
then
don't
how
want to be
we
quiet.
as an organism go out into the
I'm not
world.
the kind
And
of
so
person
it's a little
who
bit more
is quiet. I'm not a quiet person.
one
I've
of
never
the
been a
another
quiet
one of the
person.
four
I
tenets
actually really enjoy
of
public
the
speaking.
organism level
And
of
so
effortless
while
ecology.
this is out of my
And so
comfort
again,
zone,
as always,
starting
thank you so
a
much for
YouTube,
watching.
sharing
I would love
my,
to hear your thoughts on this.
about
And
the
so
world
please
and
do
about the
like,
direction of our future
and
being a
comment on this
part
video
of
if you
the cultural
have any
change
thoughts.
that we are going to need.
If you
what
feel
I believe that
so
we need,
inclined, please
what
share
I
this
see
video.
as
I'd love to know
evidence for
what
what
kind
we
of
need moving
conversations
forward.
that you
I
have
want
in
to be
your
a
own
part of
communities
that. And even though
about
this
these
is
concepts.
scary, I'm going to be honest.
And
like,
so yes,
right?
please
Being our
like,
authentic self is
subscribe,
scary. It's scary
share,
to me, the
comment,
concept of sharing
all of those
this
things. I
information with
appreciate
you.
your support so much.
Sharing myself,
Again,
my opinions,
I'm Sierra.
my
This
thoughts.
is Effortless Ecology,
It's
and I
scary
will
to
see you
ask
back
for people
here
to
next
comment
time.
and to share, because what if I look like a fool, right? And that is the authentic version of me, being honest with you, being in integrity with saying I want to start a YouTube channel, taking responsibility for, okay, I get to learn and do better every time, versus my ego who's like, hey, you probably just shouldn't do it because you don't know what you're doing. No one's going to listen to you, right? Like, that's a fear of my past, and trying to protect myself because if I don't do it, then I don't get hurt. And so with that, what I'm wondering from you is, like, where are places that you are choosing not to follow your dreams? Where are you choosing to hide the version of yourself that you think isn't acceptable? As a woman, of course, there are times in my life where I have been told that I should be seen and not heard, or that my feelings are too much, or that I'm going too deep. All of those things are things that I've been told. And I don't want to live like that anymore. Where are you choosing to hide your true self? What are the parts of you that you've hidden away? Where do you get to be honest with yourself about what you truly want and the life that we want to see? What the life do you want to live moving forward? What kind of a world do you want to see moving forward? So with that, it's kind of a big introduction, right? Of like why I'm here, what I'm doing, like what is this? But with that, authenticity kind of summarizes and brings together the four tenets of the individual that I'm creating in this understanding for myself of effortless ecology, what it looks like for us to live in relationship with ourselves, with each other, with the world, as in the environment that holds us, that cradles us, that has created all of the life around us. And so, thank you so much, as always, for being here, for listening. I'm really excited to hear. I would love to see some comments. Please share. This is a chance to get vulnerable and be weird on the internet. Be honest about where are some things that you're hiding from yourself. And what are you committed to doing to change that? What do you want to do? And yeah, what do you want to do moving forward? And so maybe that's what we'll talk about next time is, like what does it look like to change the paradigm of our lives, our life as an organism, as an individual, moving forward and living in these four tenets, the four tenets of integrity, responsibility, honesty, and authenticity. What does it look like for us to create a life like that and those relationships with others? And so one final thought on authenticity, right, is like when we're honest with ourselves and we present our truthful version, authentic version to the world, that's going to draw in authentic relationships. And so that's being in responsibility, right? Integrity with ourselves, being our word, being true to ourselves, building more of that relationship, building that trust within ourselves, being responsible for the relationships that we create, right? If we're not being true to ourselves, we're not going to have honest relationships. We're not going to have the relationships that we want to see. And being honest about that. Where are you being fake? It's not, it's not always fun to think about, but it doesn't have to be awful either. It's life's what you make it. So let's make it rock. Anyways, that was an aside. Thank you so much for joining me again. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Oh, excuse me. Subscribe. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And thank you so much for being here. And I'll see you next time.